All right. Sorry, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to my photography shopping live stream. I uh, I don't know why the stream just kind of flickered in and out, but hopefully you can see and hear me okay. I'm seeing a little buffering going on too, but yeah, let me know in the chat section. Make sure everything's okay, and then we'll get started. But I did find a few good deals today, and we'll share those. And as always, I do open Q&A as well. If you have any questions, particularly if you're looking for a particular kind of gear, I can help you or give you some advice on that or my opinion. But okay, Phew, God, I'm still a little bit cold. It didn't get above freezing while I was out there. But yeah, I'll share a couple of pictures too while we're in the stream. But okay, let's see. It looks like everything's working. Pull up my shopping page, and oh yeah, and I am an affiliate for Amazon and B&H and eBay, so I'll earn a commission if you guys use my affiliate links down below. I have them for all three, so that helps support the work that I do here, and it's greatly appreciated. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Anthony's got 6 or 7 feet of snow. God. I saw, yeah, you sent me a picture of that. That was incredible. Like I said, we're not equipped down here to handle that. It snowed and it stayed here for almost a solid 2 weeks, and people were still complaining their streets weren't plowed yet. But finally, it warmed up this past week and it's all melted. Then it snowed again about 6 inches the other day, day before yesterday. And that's melted now. It's all gone. So that's the kind of winter I'm used to. Like, it'll snow really nice for one day, and then the next day or two, it's all melted away, which is just how I like it. All right, so this is my deal page, robtrek.com/deals, and I found a few lenses on different mounts. First of all, this fisheye lens for micro four thirds. This is one of the few lenses that give you a full circular fisheye on micro four thirds, and I have this lens under a different brand. I think mine's is a 7 Artisans version. I'll see if I can find a couple of shots that I used taken with this lens. They labeled mine as 6, maybe a 4mm. Let me see. Yeah, mine is, they labeled mine as a 4mm 2.8, and Mikey's calling it a 3.5mm, but they're the same lens. Well, what's interesting is this lens actually sees a little bit behind the camera. So if you look closely on this corner, you can see the grip of my OM1 Mark II is right in here. And if you point the camera straight up, like I put it on top of my head, and then I got down on my knees, and I was able to capture the people standing around me. And this is how you kind of get that 360 world planetary type view. And it's really cool. And let me give you the link to this page so you can see the photos directly. But it's a really cool lens. So definitely I can recommend this at $136. It's kind of a no-brainer. There's a couple others here. I really like this one. Of the trees, you can see the ground all the way around the edges, and then the trees. This is inside of a tree stump. I also did some Astra because it is an f2.8. This was about a Bortle 4 sky. And, you know, you can see a little bit of the Milky Way there just from a single shot. The exposure information should be here. That's a 30-second exposure at ISO 1600. So you can keep the lens open quite a long time, 30 seconds, because it's so wide. Here's another one. This is a little better shot of the Milky Way. And I'm at ground level. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Some weird artifacts in there from me over. I should reprocess these using DxO. I probably used Lightroom or something on this. There's me and Ellie in the same spot. It got a little bit later in the morning, and I took some shots around. And this is actually over at this shot and this shot and this shot. All these shots here I did actually when I was at Ben's house. May rest in peace. I miss him dearly. But I took these while I was at his house a couple years ago. And I like this one too. You just get right up on the tree and point up. Gives you a really awesome perspective that, you know, you just can't do with any other lens or in post-processing. Here's one of a friend of mine. And this is a star trail. I don't know if I put the time here, but this was a live comp. And I just let it run for a few hours. I can't remember exactly how long, but this was several hours here. And I love this. And the trick to getting this is you got to find the North Star right here, or Polaris, I guess is the right name. And then you can get this nice circular star trail. And this one here, I'm seriously, I'm only about maybe a foot away from the tree, you know, but it looks like I'm like 10 feet back and, you know, but that's a cool shot there. And there's one of a dandelion and some fireworks. This was a long exposure too. This was, the EXIF date is not there, but this was probably about a, you know, 10 or 15-second exposure. And this is last one of a flower, so you can get really, really close. And you can see the detail that you can get with this lens up close. So if you can focus it properly and, you know, frame it, get a feel for framing, you know, super wide angle, you can get some terrific shots with this. I love this lens. Okay, and I see a quick question there from Anthony. I have seen some aftermarket lenses with aperture going into the EXIF data, but you still have to manually control the aperture. If you're going to get full aperture control, that's usually going to have autofocus as well. So the only aperture control through the camera are the autofocus lenses, and there's, you know, plenty of those out there. But the manual focus lenses, most of them do not even have EXIF data. Most of them are just dumb lenses, you know, and you have to manually enter the EXIF data. So, but I have seen some, I think like the Voigtlanders do that. The higher end lenses, the more expensive ones, do have aperture in the EXIF data because it has the electrical contacts, but it doesn't have, you know, aperture control or autofocus. Because once you put motors in the lens to control the aperture, you might as well put motors in there to control the autofocus, right? So I haven't seen one where it's aperture only. Okay, and then for Sony, this is an interesting lens. You know, it's kind of a do-it-all, 28 to 300. I had an older version of this for my Nikon D70 back in the day when they made it. I had a 28 to 300. And it was fine. It was a little rough on the long end. It wasn't quite tack sharp. But on the wide end and everything up to about 200 millimeters is really, really good. It's only when you get out to 300 millimeters, you you know, I did notice I wouldn't call it softness. It was just kind of a different kind of imperfection in the lens, like maybe some mild smearing or distortion. It's hard to describe. Uh, but that was really only on the edges. In the center, the lens was still pretty good at 300 millimeters, but it was really best up to about 200. And I imagine this is not any different. If anything, it might be a little better than the one that I had from 10 years ago or more. It's been more than 10 years. Uh, but yeah, this is a great deal. $6.99. Okay, and then here's one. This is probably does not have the. I'm not familiar with Fast Ship Direct, but this is as good as a used price. They have the black one here for like $10 more. So I'm not sure if this has the OM system warranty or not, but you got a 30-day return policy. So if it's DOA, then you know you can return it and exchange it with Amazon directly. But if it does happen to come with the manufacturer warranty, then you're good. You're all set. But if not, this is still a really good price to get a brand new lens. 12 millimeter, oh, I'm sorry, the 45 millimeter f1.8, and it's a terrific lens. So you're paying basically used prices for this. And then for Fujifilm, there's the 56 1.8 from TT Artisans. I tested a different variation of this lens, I believe. But, you know, for $129, and it's got a 4.4 star rating. The TT Artisan has been making great lenses, autofocus lenses for Fujifilm. I can't imagine this one's any different. And you know, if you need a fast portrait lens, for example, or you like to do tighter landscapes, this is a great focal length. So I would definitely, I can definitely recommend this sight unseen, even though I'm pretty sure I've tested this, a variation of this. And I like the lens hood that it comes with. It kind of curves in instead of, you know, barreling out. It's more convex than it is concave, so to speak. And you can get it in silver if you want, if you prefer. And here for the Nikon APS-C shooters, a 24 millimeter 1.7. So this is roughly a 36 millimeter equivalent on full frame. Great street lens. It's very fast, and it's $266. I mean, that is just ignore this most of the time this coupon thing is off. I've never found a better deal using that thing. Anyway, and you know, Nikon makes great glass, and even their cheap glass is really good. So if you're looking for a cheap, you know, wide angle fast lens that's OEM original from Nikon, right? This is it, and it's a good deal. K&F has a tripod on sale, and I like their tripods. This one, I like the flip locks. You know, it has a metal ball head, and it collapses down to a nice compact size. They include like a cell phone holder. I mean, I don't care about that, but you know, I can't tell you that what a difference it makes when you can collapse the legs down into a very compact, you know, diameter like that. And it makes all the difference in the world in carrying a tripod. It doesn't feel bulky or cumbersome. Now the flip locks are all going to be plastic, and but it, you know, you can reverse the center stock, and it has spring-loaded locks here at the top. So it's you know, just makes the workflow overall very, very straightforward. So I can recommend this tripod. It's very good for $45.89. And this backpack, Now this backpack, it retails for $149 and it goes on sale about 4 or 5 times a year. So like every other month. It goes on sale for $43 or $50 or $60. This is the lowest I've seen it. And really, this is a really high quality backpack with lots of dividers. And it's a real nice compact size. Well made. The key thing about this backpack is the quality of materials. The only flaw in this backpack really is, and I don't know if you want to call it a flaw, but uh, it opens from the back. I mean, it opens from the front. A lot of people seem to like the ones that open from the you can see here it opens from the front instead of the back. But I like everything else about this backpack. It's like I said, very high quality, kind of a luxury item. It's got kind of a luxury look with the piping, the stitching being a little bit different color than the bag itself. So definitely check this bag out if you're interested in a smaller, high quality backpack for $43. And then let me check the chat section real quick and we'll talk about filters. Are there aftermarket tilt shift lenses that you recommend for micro four thirds around the? No, I can't recommend any at this point. So Anthony's asking, are there any tilt shift lenses? I'm not aware of any that wide, to be honest, for micro four thirds. I think your best option might be to buy tilt a tilt adapter. Now there are tilt lenses that might be in that range, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. Most of them start at like 35 millimeters and go up. But what you can do is you can buy tilt adapter. They have full-on tilt shift adapters that are a couple $100 that I've seen. So you may want to look for those. But you have to be careful with the tilt shift adapters because, like, I know you have the OM1 Mark II. I'll show you on my OM1 here. But the problem is the hump here, right, of the prism, this part right here. You can't shift up because this gets in the way. So if you get a tilt shift adapter that does both, right? It works better on like a Pen F or a Pen series camera because there's no hump. But on just about any other camera, whether it's the EM5 or the OM5 and the OM1s, I would say that the OM3 is almost okay. I think the OM3 would be okay, but I think these cameras, you're going to have a little bit of a problem with this part right here in shifting up. And that's typically what, that's not an uncommon thing to shift up. Like you're taking a picture of a tall building, right? You want to be able to shift up. Now shifting left to right for landscapes, you shouldn't have any problem, other than, can't put your fingers in there because the lens will be shifting over. But I think that's partially why it's hard to find, tilt and shift lenses. Because of the cameras are so small, you're kind of limited in the actual motion. Okay, if they do come out with one, like I think your best bet would be maybe to find one. Let me take a quick look. let's just do a generic search. There's a 17. So you could adapt this to, oh, that's for Sony. I think there's a Sony, no, there isn't. You can't adapt the Sony versions or the GFX. This Astor 18 for Fuji, you cannot do that one. If this is the Canon EFs you can do. But geez, that's $2,500. I don't know if you want to do that. Here's the 50. I've reviewed this lens. They do make this for Micro Four Thirds, I believe. Or maybe I reviewed the Sony version. Yeah, I reviewed the Sony version. Yeah, looks like we are not going to find one. This one, well, that's a 24. Yeah, I don't see any. Let me see if I can find that adapter you were thinking about. These are the adapters. So this is a shift only. This is not I'm sorry, this is tilt only. This does not shift, I don't believe. Let me see. Oh, it does. Well, it does shift. So this is your only option, but like I said, you have to be careful with your working, the space under the lens. So what you can do is, like I said, Amazon's pretty liberal return policy. You can order this. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not showing the screen. You can order something like this and see if it'll work on the OM1 Mark II. And that you have the clearance that you need to shift it up and down. I'm pretty sure this will shift left and right without any problem. Because it looks like that brass knob there is on the left side, so you'll be okay. Yeah, this is on the left side, that brass knob, so you'll be okay. So the brass knob is over here, away from, on the opposite side of the handle. So shifting left and right will be okay, but up and down could be an issue. Could be an issue. You'd have to shift it. Yeah, I don't, I'm just going off what I can see here. But this is the only adapter that I know of that does both tilt and shift. Now there's a handful of shift only adapters. I don't see any here. The speed reducer. And then of course, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, you have to make sure you have lenses, that you can mount to it. So this is you need to get a vintage OM mount lens. But sometimes they have them for you can mount like Nikon glass or Canon EF glass. See this one? Okay, here's one. Tilt and shift. So there's a variety here. So let me give you a link to this page. And then you can kind of do a little more research on that. But that's probably the only way to go, is buying an adapter and then buying a third party like a Canon EFS or Canon Nikon glass that you can adapt to that. Because finding a native tilt shift micro four thirds, I'm just not aware of any. Okay, and you guys are talking about the ads here. Yeah. Oh, I should have. I don't see. Yeah, it's nothing I can do once the stream goes live that I can find. Oh, I can click something here. Okay, so we got 10 minutes. I can delay ads for 10 minutes. All right, so we'll do that. Okay. All right, I didn't see any other questions though. So let me go back to some filters. So the ND 10,000 filter, 16 stops. This one, wow, that's a lot. These filters here are for like taking pictures of the sun, right? I should get one of these. And they have a variety of filter threads on sale. So if you click on this, you can pick the size that you need. But I picked out the 58 and the 62 because these are very common for micro four thirds. But you know, they have all the other filter thread sizes here, and then of course you can use step rings to adapt. But I definitely need to get one of these. I'm gonna get the 58. I'm thinking the 58, yeah, that's for my 12 to 45. I'm definitely gonna get that for myself. That's a good deal, 12 bucks for 16 stop. And of course you can use it for any long exposure type photography, but being at 16 stops, that's like take pictures of the sun kind of range. They might even say that in the description. Let me see. Oh, they probably don't. But okay, so that's that. That's a good deal. Here's another good deal. This is a true color ND8 and polarizer combined. So it's a fixed ND8, which is really good for not like daytime long exposure. It's not dark enough, but it will help some. If it's very rapid moving water, an ND8 filter will work. So this would be good for like waterfalls and things where it's very rapid type waterfalls, because you only need 1 or 2 seconds of exposure to get a nice smooth waterfall. And this also has the ND filter built in as well. I'm sorry, the polarizer built in as well. So you can reduce the reflection somewhat and get a nice crisp, very contrasty waterfall scene. Because a lot of times in a waterfall, you know, you got a lot of haze and mist going around. And although you don't want to cut it out completely, you can cut it out a little bit with this. And so this is a great filter for doing waterfalls, being an all-in-one. And of course, these microphones, this is the microphone that I use now. I love this microphone. I already lost one of these little ones. That's the only problem with this. These mics are so tiny that I lost one. I don't know where it is. So yeah, I bought mine back in October. It's been great. But I might have to buy an extra one. They're on sale for 25 because I lost mine. And they work with the Insta360 camera. you know, this little guy. It'll just pair up directly, so you don't need to attach the receiver. You can just Bluetooth connect the little tiny one right here. And I probably lost it somewhere doing that. Okay, here's another filter. This is a, you know, the KNFs don't go on sale too often. So you know, whenever they have a semi-decent sale on these, I like to point them out. But this is a 3 to 7 stop ND. Uh, this is perfect. This is a perfect range, 3 to 7 stops. And the 72 millimeters on sale, which is more of a Canon lens size. I've seen some Canon lenses with that filter thread. And the 77. So if you're a Canon shooter, these two filter thread sizes are very common. So you can get these. These you'll have to wait till they go on sale. But these two are on sale now. And K&F makes the best filters in my opinion. Okay, and then we're kind of blending into things that are still on sale from last week. This Sony charger charges both sides, you know, the smaller and the larger Sony batteries. The most common ones for like their APS-C and full frame cameras. Arca Swiss clamp, you know, I have a lot of these. They're very handy, these Arca Swiss clamps. And of course this shutter release, mine came in, I haven't tested it yet, but mine came in. I have a couple of these. One of them broke, so I bought another one to replace it. Now it doesn't come with, you know, if you're already shooting with, I think this is the Sony. It does Sony and Pentax, older Pentaxes. But, you know, it should come, you will need to get one of these two cables to adapt it so it'll work on your OM systems and a lot of other different cameras. A lot of cameras have a 2.5 millimeter plug in them. And you would need to get one of these. Okay, here's a couple of more filters. This is not on sale, but it's a good deal. You get the filter case with a couple of ND filters, an ND8, ND64, and a polarizer. So, and there's 15% off on checkout, so make sure you check this coupon so you can get that deal. And yeah, it's a good deal. The 49 millimeter. Now the 52 and the 67, all the rest of these, I'd wait maybe a little bit till they go on sale. They're just not on sale right now. But this one is, the 67 is on sale. This is a UV, CPL, and ND4. But you're getting this really nice, the filter case alone is like 10 bucks. So they're kind of throwing in the filters for free. The only filter in here that's really useful is the really the circular polarizer. ND4 is not that dark. That's 2 stops, right? But it may help a little. But it's really, and the UV filter, some people like to use UV filters on the front of their lenses, so you can do that. But the 67, not a very common filter thread for Micro Four Thirds, but maybe you have some lenses in this size. If you do, this is a good time to get this set. If nothing else, you can just get the case. Okay, and like I said, the rest of this stuff is from last week. This is a great backpack for 67. I like this one better than the one that I showed you before, but it's $25 more. Some skins for your Nikons and Canons and half cases. And of course, the OM3 is on sale till the end of the month, technically. You know, I don't buy their sale end date anymore because they always say, yeah, sale ends March 1st, for example. But then March 1st rolls around and then it goes on sale again for the same price. So either way, whether the sale ends or not, $16.99.99 is a great deal for this camera. You will not regret getting this camera. All I can tell you is I love this camera to death. I use it all the time. It's my go-to camera for everything. And if you don't have the 12 to 45 Pro, I would get it with this lens. You're getting the lens for just 300 more. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. I'd almost say even if you have the 12 to 40 f2.8 Pro, you still may want to get this lens because it's quite a bit smaller and lighter than the 12 to 40. It doesn't seem like much difference on paper. It's like 100 grams or something. But in the field, when you're walking around with the camera, it's much nicer to have this smaller lens on it than it is the 2.8. And this is the lens I bought to replace my 2.8 because my 2.8 finally died after, you know, being buried in ice and all of that. But I decided I don't need 2.8 very often. And f4, I prefer the smaller size and weight of the f4. So definitely I can highly recommend this lens. It's tack sharp. The only thing I found that this lens cannot do well is infrared photography. It has a hotspot right in the center. So if you want to do infrared photography, just be aware that this lens won't do it. Or if you're already doing infrared photography, you're not going to be able to do that with this lens. You can. I've done many photos using this lens for infrared, but I had to spend a lot of time in post-processing to fix that hotspot. Okay, what else is down here? $40 tripod. You know, this is $5 less than the K&F tripod I showed earlier, but I like the K&F a little better, so I would think it's worth the extra $5. But that said, you know, the K&F is not always on sale, so this has been on sale, it seems like forever. But it's still a good deal here. And these tripods here, these are all different kinds. You know, the LT38 for $200, carbon fiber, extremely well made. I love how compact it is. It has a great ball head on it, so it's going to support pretty heavy camera. I would recommend this, no problem, at this price point. Same thing with this GVM. This one has an inverted ball head design, so it's even more compact. And this is a tripod. This is my daily driver tripod. I have a different brand of this, but it's the same exact tripod, as many of you know. So I can highly recommend this tripod, all metal build. The only thing that's awkward with this tripod is the center column is a little difficult to remove, like take apart. So if you want to lay the tripod down flat, let's see if they have a picture. There's a little picture here. You have to remove the center column. That's a pain in the butt. Okay, that's the only thing. So most of the time I have the center column still attached because I like to do this kind of thing, right? Invert it and do close-up work like macro. Of course, I've since bought a couple of tabletop tripods, so I don't have to do this anymore. But sometimes you still need to do this for other things, tabletop, flat lay photography, things like that. And, you know, so I leave the center column in, and then when I want to shoot low, I just get out my tabletop tripod. But you can remove the center column. It's just a little bit of a hassle because you have to unscrew things and take it, you know. It's kind of a pain. But $189, this is a great deal. This same tripod under a different name sells for about $70 more. So GVM is basically the best deal for this particular tripod. Here's a fully articulating tripod. This is very, very useful, you know, for doing flat lay photography. And, other types of things, as you can imagine. What I like about this one is that it does fully articulate. It's not like a 90-degree angle only, because it has a, you know, the tensioner here in the center, so that you can tilt it down closer, and it balances better sometimes when you can adjust the tilt. This also by Cam Photo, or Cambo Photo. So it's a budget tripod, but if you're gonna, this is the kind of tripod you would use in your studio. Okay, let me go ahead and close some of these windows down before my computer crashes. And then of course all these bags, Wander's on sale for 97. This is premium 6-liter bag. Not much to say there other than if you want one of the very best, you want to get this one. But then there are some great budget options here as well. I own this bag. I can't imagine these other $20, $25 bags are any worse than the one that I have. They're all really nice bags, and everyone that's bought one that has taken the time to tell me what they thought about it has said they really like these bags. And some miscellaneous lenses here I've talked about before. 25mm f.95 for Fujifilm. There's also one down here for micro four thirds, I believe. Yeah, micro four thirds, Canon RF. It comes in all amounts for $99. This is a great lens, APS-C, in those various mounts. And you can use it on full frame, but you get a lot of heavy vignetting on the edges. And some other various lenses on sale. L mount, Z mount, the 18mm f/5.6, little pancake lens. Here's the 45 in black, and of course the venerable 40-150 kit lens, $169, and a diopter for doing close-ups. So if you put this on your 60mm macro lens, for micro four thirds, you get about a 1.5x magnification overall. So, and it's tack sharp, no issues, and it just snaps on the front. I love this. This is one of my favorite accessory purchases. And then of course, LED lighting. If you do macro work, you need good lighting. Some people use flash, some people prefer LED, just depends. And filter wrenches and step rings, of course, are always good tools to have in your toolbox as a photographer. So definitely check all those out on my page here. Those are the things I wanted to share with you today. A few lenses and some filters. These are core things, right, for every photographer. And I think they're really a good deal now. As good as you're going to get any time of the year, I think. So I'll go back over to the chat section and see what else is new. I understand you do real estate and architectural photography and use micro four thirds equipment. I assume you have managed to find a way to get around not needing a tilt. Yeah, I just shoot really wide, 7mm. And I use it's in the car because I just did a job yesterday. I'll show you a couple of pictures I took yesterday. I use a gearhead, right, to level the camera perfectly. So gearhead makes things very easily. And I'm sure you know what a gearhead is, but it's just a tripod head mount that allows you to adjust the X and Y axis independently with separate knobs, right? And I just use a gearhead and shoot super wide and make sure everything is level. Now, if I have to shoot a really tall building, like time to time I'll have to do an office building that, they want to see some outside shots. I rarely, actually the guy wanted me to do 600,000 square foot space, and I'm like, holy crap, man, that's going to take me a couple of days, maybe a week to do. Like, I don't know. I have to think about it. But anyhow, if I have to do a really tall building, again, 7mm is usually wide enough to capture, up to about a dozen. I've done 20-story buildings uh, with a 7mm, but I had the option to stand back. If I don't have the option to stand back, I had to do this once where I just took several images, right? I took the bottom, the middle, and the top, and then I stitched them together in post-processing. Basically I did a panorama, but it was a vertical panorama. And I've done that a few times when I couldn't get the whole thing in the frame. So you really don't need a tilt shift lens anymore, uh, in my opinion. Well, a tilt lens specifically, because there's the workarounds are easy enough. Now, if you're doing high-end real estate all the time, you can justify buying, these $2,000-$3,000 tilt shift lenses. And then you would buy whatever camera gear, like Fuji has a great tilt shift lens for their medium format cameras. And of course, Canon has it, and Nikon has very good tilt shift lenses. So if you're doing things like that all the time, then you would buy the tools that you need, i.e. a Canon, Nikon, or Fujifilm with their $3,000, $2,000 tilt shift lens, right? But I don't do that often. It would take me years to make that money back because I only do a few jobs a year, and it doesn't make any sense for me to do that. So I just work around it by taking multiple pictures and doing a pano. And Anthony says, I see the D850 is heavily discounted. It was one of the best cameras ever made by Nikon, and it's slightly more than half the price. Yes. So it's under $2,000. I know that, the D850. And it's a great camera. It's just big and heavy. That thing is no joke. But, a lot of people love the Nikon F-mount. They love the DSLR experience of having a real viewfinder. And a D850 makes a lot of sense, and it's a good time to buy one. But I would argue, if you're upgrading from a DSLR, I'd probably just go mirrorless at this point. But not everybody needs to do that. A lot of people are happy with all of their F-mount glass and don't mind the size, right, of a DSLR, particularly the D850. And Paul asks, is there a list of recommended OM lenses that are all right for infrared photography? Yes, there are. I had it bookmarked. Believe it or not, the 14 to 42 kit lens is really good, but let me see if I can find it for you. Yeah, I'll give you the link. So I just pasted the link to this page here. Micro Four Third infrared lens and hotspot performance. So the 8 to 25, the 9 to 18, the 12 to 100, the 12 to 45. Oh, yeah, see, he says it right here. I was disappointed. So am I, right? But yeah, you can kind of read through this. Here's the 14 to 42 kit lens. It says my go-to lens, right? But yeah, you can read through this and find some good ones in here. So I just use my kit lens now. Or what's the other lens I used? Trying to remember. But anyway, check that article out. This guy's already done all the work, so we don't have to, right? And almost 2 years ago, I bought a small rig, carbon fiber AP10 off Amazon. Recently, some YouTubers 1-year reviews on this tripod, and they read this tripod is excellent considering the price. Let me see. I'm not familiar with that tripod. Maybe if I see it, I'll be like, oh, okay, I know what that is. Let me see. Small rig. Small rig. It's not AP10. You're saying there's a 10% discount, right? So I don't know which one. Uh, yeah, they have a lot here. Some of these are just rebranded though. Like this one here, I got it for 20 bucks. But it's not a small rig brand. It's, you know, it's a no-name brand. But it was on sale. You can't get it anymore for 20 bucks. I know some of you did. Jeff got one. Jeff Painter. Uh yeah, I don't know which one you're referring to. Oh, it is AP. There's an AP20. Here's the AP10. Okay, sorry. You did mean AP10. Uh yeah, this looks good. You know, it's not a high-end tripod, but I like that it has metal ball head. It's very compact. It has spring-loaded locks, locking clips, and it's using the candy cane type carbon fiber, so it's not the strongest carbon fiber. The stronger carbon fiber is the interweaved ones, right? But let's see, did they talk about the tube diameter? Can't be much. It's probably 19 millimeter tube diameter. I can't tell from the photo if these are metal flip locks or not because they don't show the back end. These look like metal though, but I can't tell. They might be plastic. But let's see, it collapses down to special shape take extreme. So it's 57 millimeters collapse. So that, yeah, that's pretty small. It goes to 52 inches. That's a really good height. That'll come up to, you know, your chest, right? And standard ball head. Oh, this does have 25 millimeter tubes. Okay. That's good. But yeah, the you can see here it has the candy cane style carbon fiber. So that's a little bit cheaper and not quite as strong as the weave type carbon fiber, but it's fine, you know. And it has detachable feet. That's good. So you can replace those with spikes if you need to. So yeah, that's a decent tripod for $139. But they don't tell me what size the ball head is. But I'm guessing it's probably like a 25 millimeter ball head too. Let's see if they mention it. Yeah, they don't mention it here. 21 inches collapse, that's decent. This is very similar to, these look like plastic flip locks though, right here. Definitely that looks like plastic, but I don't know. You tell me, Anthony, if you have this one. Uh, so it has an 8-layer carbon fiber. Okay, that's expected in this at this price point. Yeah, 28 millimeter ball head. So it's pretty small. It's fine for micro four thirds and stuff, but if you start putting on big lenses, or moving to full frame APS-C with big lenses, this is going to be tough to work with. So it's definitely for smaller cameras and lenses. But okay, that was a nice recommendation there. Good as any tripod I've recommended. But 139 is a little bit, it's about right for that tripod. That's about the right price. That's a fair price. 139 for that level of quality and features, right? 25 millimeter carbon fiber, 28 millimeter ball head. The flip locks, I don't know if they're metal or plastic, but if they're metal, that's really good. I would expect metal at $139, but I don't know if I can't tell from the photos. And everything else looks okay. And Henning says, do you have an argument pro or against in camera HDR versus bracketing and merging in post for real estate shooting? I tried both on my own one Mark II and wasn't able to consider one superior. Okay, so no, I never do HDR. I mean, let me rephrase that. In my photo shoot yesterday, let me just pull up the photos. I haven't finished processing these yet. But I'll show you. Where's my deliverables at? And I'll talk a little bit about it. My hard drives are spinning up. Give me a second here. And finally, my matcha tea is starting to kick in. Man, I was really tired when I started the stream. Like I wanted to go take a nap. Oh, down here, 9247. All right, so this is a exposure blended shot where I took one shot at just a regular shot, right? And then I also took one using a flash, and then I blended them in post-processing. Sometimes, now I do a bracketed shot, I take 3 plus or minus 2, and then I end up picking one that, you know, has about the right exposure, the exposure that I need. You know, you kind of get a feel for it. And then I use a flash to balance out the shadows and also the color, right? It's another example. This is exposure blended with flash and just a single ambient shot. This is also flash with a single ambient shot, and this one too. So the flash allows me to bring in the window, like you can see outside the window because it's very bright, while maintaining, you know, a decent exposure inside. And this is one of those eye doctor places that he's retiring. This shot here, okay, this is the dirty closet, right? This is an HDR. So there's two reasons I did HDR in this shot. So let's take this shot, for example, right? And actually I can show you this shot, which is an exposure blended shot, versus HDR, because I did an HDR of this. But this shot here, I chose HDR because unlike this shot here, where the light coming in through the window is very cool, and it's you know, it's daylight balance, right? But inside I got this fluorescent lighting, and I also have some tungsten lighting back here that was on. And so I had a lot of mixed white balance inside this one room. So it made, if I were to do HDR, it would look stupid, okay? It would just look off. So I always exposure blend whenever I have a window, in particular when I have mixed lighting. This shot here, I was going to do HDR, then it didn't look great, so I decided to do exposure blending. But this shot here, I could have done HDR because there's not any mixed lighting in here. There's just this regular tungsten lighting up here. But this shot here, definitely I can just do tungsten or regular HDR shot because there's no mixed lighting. And I didn't need to make this room look good, right? Because it's a mess. So I just did an HDR, fast and simple. No problem. This is a standard single exposure. You know, I like to outline the building that they're looking at buying. Bathroom, this is an HDR shot. I didn't have any mixed lighting here. Standard shot. This is a mixed shot. Anyway, I didn't have to do much. It was a very small space. But yeah, HDR, the problem with HDR, let me see if I can find you some examples. No, that's not going to work. I have to go to Lightroom because I do the exposure blending in Lightroom because I can do, or Photoshop because I can do layers in Photoshop. That's the only reason I keep using it. I can't do layers in DxO. I process all my images in DxO and then I do the layering in Photoshop. And Anthony says the flip-flop locks are plastic. Okay, good to know. And what photographers on YouTube reviewed very recently and said it was surprisingly well built for what it cost? Maybe. You know, it's not too dissimilar from a K&F tripod that I reviewed. You know, 25 millimeter candy cane carbon fiber tube and the small rig, because it has a bigger ball head. It had a 38 millimeter ball head and it was about the same price, 140 bucks, give or take. Okay. So let me see if I must have some. Let me just go to my digital negative. So these are all the DxO processed. But you know, here's like an ambient light shot, right? Just a single shot. And you can see it's kind of a train wreck. You can actually see me standing over there. I cropped that part out. As opposed to, where was my deliverable? Over here. As opposed to, where is it? This one. This is the exposure blended shot, right? Versus, you know, an ambient light shot. Now, if I were to do HDR, because I do bracket these, let's do an HDR of this same. We'll just do an HDR real quick. Let me. Okay, I think it finished. This one. Those are the three. Here's the HDR that Lightroom just created. And again, compared to mine, right, it's a big difference. So of course I can try and adjust this in the develop module. Like push the shadows more. I've already got these pushed all the way up. I'd have to bring this up. And then let's crop in roughly the same. And then do a perspective correction. That's about right. It's still a little bit off. We need a little bit more. Anyway, you know, if I was actually using, but you can see I can't bring the window in. Let's see, let me bring the highlights down. A little bit of clarity and texture and dehaze. Let's back off this. But you can see I'd have to start doing local adjustments. And then look at the lighting up here. It's really yellow. And the light coming in over here, the white balance is very cool. And over here, it's very warm. And then you got this stupid fluorescent lighting. And if you look at my edited picture, you can see the white balance is correct. Now the carpet's worn. That's why you're seeing all this fading and stuff. They're going to gut this place out. You can see up here, I minimized all of the yellow lighting, right? And I balanced all of the colors as opposed to this one. So that's an HDR. This is, and this is with, whoops, that's with exposure blending. So it's a big difference, right? But anyway, so yeah, I can never use HDR indoors unless, like I showed, unless there's no mixed lighting, like this closet picture. You know, I don't have to worry about it. I'm missing one here. There were two closets. Well, anyway, hopefully that helps, Anthony. Let me look at your question one more time. So, do you have an argument pro or against in-camera HDR versus bracketing, and merging, and post-processing? So, yeah, in-camera HDR is going to be a train wreck. It's going to be the same thing whether you do it in camera or you do it in post-processing with exposure blending, especially when you have mixed white balances like I was showing there. HDR is just not going to work. You have to use flash and to get the white balance balanced and get the colors right. Now, if you want to talk about an outdoor picture, right, let's say where you don't have to worry about mixed lighting, exposure blending in post-processing is always going to be better than doing it in camera. So we can continue with the same example, right? Let's take these three images and open them as layers in Photoshop. We'll give that a second. So exposure blending is not HDR, right? It's just taking bracketed shots and then blending selectively. So I'm just going to add, some blank layers or masking here. So this is the normal exposure. This is -2 and that's +2. So in the +2, I probably want to grab what's down here. So I'm going to go ahead and get my brush and just brush in down here, this part. And all of this. The ceiling looks pretty decent too. I'm just going to do a quick and dirty, okay? And we're going to crop that corner out anyway. All right, that looks good. And then from this exposure, I don't really need anything from that third one. I can probably just use these two. Yeah, I need a little bit on the floor. So let me delete this, and we're going to add a black mask. Switch to a white brush. I might want just a little bit down in here. Okay, so that's exposure blended. So we'll save that and go back to Lightroom. So here's exposure blended versus, where's the HDR? I think it was this one. Okay, so on the left here is exposure blended. On the right, it's just the HDR. The key difference here, and I don't know what in camera would do because I didn't do an in camera. They're pretty close, but I like the one on the left a little bit better. I would have to crop it though. I have to crop it roughly the same. Maybe somewhere in there. The one on the left is a little better. I can continue to edit this. We'll just click auto, push the shadows a little bit, add a little clarity and texture. Sometimes I reverse the texture just to make the image a little softer, then add some dehaze back in. And then correct the perspective. So here's HDR. The best I could really edit then versus over here is the, we need that to render. It's not rendering, but you get the idea, right? So hopefully that helps, that answers your question somewhat. I always do exposure blending. I never use in-camera HDR because in-camera HDR doesn't know what you want exactly, what areas you want to brighten or darken, particularly for architectural. Down the road from my big super telephoto lens, I'm probably going to buy FLM tripod and gimbal head. For now, I'm just going to be hand-holding my lens and practicing. So there's an FLM tripod that's really nice that has, it has a regular ball head. It looks like a regular ball head, but it's actually indexed. So if you like to do panoramas, it has an indexing, like it clicks in between, you know, a certain number of degrees. Probably like every 10 or 15 degrees, it'll click as you're turning it. That's pretty cool, but it doesn't look like a special ball head. It looks like a regular ball head, but a friend of mine had one. So if you're going to get an FLM tripod, maybe look for something like that. That's a nice little extra bonus to have built in. I mean, they're expensive tripods anyway, so that might be something to consider. The current tripod I'm using right now is more than solid enough for most of all my lens except the super zoom. Yeah. So you'll need a bigger ball head. You want to probably get at least a 40mm ball head, I would say, for that super zoom. If you're talking about the 150 to 600, which I went out with this morning, I could share a couple images from that. Let me shut down. Let me know, Henning, if that If that answered your question, if that made sense. Oh, we share a few images. 'Cause I'm pretty stoked about a couple of them. So they're way down here. I got this owl. I rarely get owl shots. Every other year I might get a decent owl shot, but this one is like, this is the female. The male was out hunting. But yeah, I like this shot. This standard 20 megapixel shot. I tried a couple of high res shots, but the wind was blowing too much that it didn't look good. The feathers were moving too much. And then here's a nice little bluebird. I got one other one I need to process that I got the bluebird in flight, but my shutter speed was a little bit too slow. And this is what, but the detail on this came out really good. And I'm using the 150 to 600. So I really like this. And then this is, I guess this is a red-shouldered hawk. I was taking a picture of him while he was on I had my shutter speed way too slow for this, so there's a lot of motion blur all over the place. So I didn't capture as much detail on the feathers as I wanted for this shot, because I was at like 1/640th of a second. But I got the shot, and it came out okay, right? But I had to do not a ton. I was really, I had to be careful with the sharpening here. But it came out pretty good. If there wasn't so much motion blur, this would have been an awesome shot. Because look how tack sharp the stick is over here. And man, I messed this shot up. I got another shot of him that I wanted to see if I can find it. Yeah, I think this shot will be really sharp if I got focus. Yesterday I missed the other day I missed focus on it. Yeah, this looks pretty good. And this one looks pretty good too. Let's see. Yep. That's going to be really good when I process it. It's just slightly overexposed. But okay. Anyway, this is not photo editing stream, is it? It's a shopping stream. But I just took those this morning, so I wanted to share them with you. Ooh, the owls ate the neighborhood cat. Ooh, that's rough. Nancy says, I find I get better photographs when lying down, putting me closer to the subject's level, precise, helping me to stabilize the lens. Yeah, definitely. I try to get down low. For these shots, this shot here, this one of the hawk, I was leaning up against a tree, right, to get the shot to help me stabilize a little bit, and that seemed to help. And if the ducks are on the water and stuff, then I lay down on the ground for those shots, and that works pretty well. Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions, so maybe we'll call it here. That's all I have for the deals and all of that stuff. But it's been great seeing everyone, Anthony and Jeff and the great Vanzini. Good to see everyone. If you're going to buy anything, use my affiliate links whenever you can. You don't have to use them just today. You can click on, and the Amazon links, really in particular, you have to buy the thing the same day. Like, otherwise, the cookies expire and I don't get credit. So if you click on any of my affiliate links, you need to buy something today, right? Otherwise, if you try to buy it tomorrow, it's not gonna, like if you put it in your shopping cart, then tomorrow you buy it, I won't get credit. For those of you that are making the effort to use my affiliate links, just so you know, it has to be done same day. And as always, you guys have a good day. Do that every day and you have a good life. Eat healthy and exercise. I want to see you guys again real soon. I'll be back on Friday for my photo editing stream, so you can submit your images, and we'll spend some more time talking about editing photos, unlike today. So thanks very much for joining me, and I really appreciate your support. I hope